Let's do it.
We're live.
We're live. All right.
Live, live, live. First one up is the woman suspected of sending poisoned rice into Trump,
All right.
which is
Perfect.
pretty
Go on.
interesting if you ask me. Send it through the mail thinking you're gonna kill Trump.
Well, I think that it's yeah. Like, I mean, if you've seen, I think that this is like the person who's seen Breaking Bad one too many times and
If you've
decides to
seen,
take their
I
poison methods and fucking use it. I think I wonder if you could like blame Breaking Bad for this extreme behavior that's
Yeah,
being seen. You know what I mean? Like where everyone seems to just get blamed for the actions of their fans, essentially. I wonder if you can blame a TV show that used ricin to try and kill someone once to fucking say that, oh, this person's fucking become an extremist because
Breaking
of
Bad's
fucking
done.
Walter White.
It's canceled.
Breaking Bad's cancelled. Fucking cancel Breaking Bad.
It's canceled.
Um, I think it was interesting because she then fucking tries to take like a gun across the border to the US, and I was reading the comments on the fucking Reddit page,
Mm.
and like people are sort of sitting there going, "Oh, I can't believe she tried taking a gun into the US." But I don't know, man. Like I've been to the US, I've been through the US border. They've never checked my fucking car. They've never. I mean, I've never tried to send rice into the fucking police either, so to the president either. So I guess
Yeah,
that's probably why they did it.
it's. I think they have pretty. I think since the TSA thing, they probably have. But you said you've been to the U.S. and they've never investigated your car or anything like that. They just chuck you through if it's. Do they?
They
They must have
the first
extra. Do
time
they have
I
the X-ray scanners and stuff?
no, I didn't get X-ray scanned. The first time I ever went across, they really fucked with me. Actually, the guy that I was fucking uh, this big fucking roid head, like just
Right.
like the most cop fucking guy you could ever fucking imagine, was like sitting there behind a desk, basically like interrogating me as to why I was in Canada without a job. Like he's like, "How did you afford to come here?" I'm like, "With a fucking job, man. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? I don't know." Like he's like, "Oh well, so have you got enough money to be here for 6 months?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been here for like 4 months, man. Like, what do you mean? Like, where's the? I haven't. I'm not just about to run out of money, and like my way to fucking get myself out of this situation was convince my girlfriend and my girlfriend's parents to take a holiday down to New York. Like, I don't know how that solves any. Like, I don't know why. It was an hour and a fucking half of just a nightmare situation. I
Jesus.
hated it.
And it was through the
But
car. But
other than that,
this was through the like driving through the border.
this was driving through the border.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Yeah, I've
And I
never
mean,
driven through it. Like I know, like at the airport, they're very kind of like they really check you out. Although someone that I know got through with some stuff that they didn't even know he had on him. Right? That's how kind of they
yeah.
let things go through there. But like when my dad went through the like 10 years ago, he was bringing a boat back from the U.S. and the car had it was one of those vans where it has the automatic doors. And
Hmm.
they open the door when he was in drive, and when you do that, it goes beep, beep, beep. They all drew assault rifles on him. Told him to put his hands up. Like they were screaming at him. They thought it was a bomb, right? This is only a couple years after 9/11, and so he chucked it in park, and then I guess it was good. But yeah, that's why I was.
Really?
It says here too that they have it's sorted and screened at an off-site facility, which makes sense. So I mean, yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, well, that's the thing. I think that what they'll do if they suspect you of anything is sort of just pull you to a screening area. Like I had to go upstairs into a building for my interrogation with Detective Douche, um, and it's it was really fucking annoying. But I mean, at the same time, like I don't know, I don't understand why this woman is trying to go to the U.S. with a gun. I also don't understand why everyone thinks that fucking Trump needs a bullet. Like I really
Yeah.
don't get that. Like it was such a fucking weird scenario. Okay, so when I first moved to Vancouver recently, I was outside smoking a joint like at night, and my neighbor came out and she was smoking a cigarette or something like that. And first time I met her, like we were
Right.
having a conversation. This is just a stranger in my eyes, right? And we're like talking for 2 seconds, and out of nowhere she's like, and I just think that Trump needs a fucking bullet, man. You know, I know maybe I shouldn't say that, but he just needs a bullet. And it's like, what? How are you so angry by this dude that you're like advocating for his life to be taken away at this point?
This is one of the first nights you said you were at.
This is the first time I
The
fucking had a
first-
conversation with her. Like, who's going up to strangers and talking like that?
Could she have heard you talking about Trump through the wall? Maybe.
If anything, she's probably only heard like pro-Trump stuff anyway. Not that I'm necessarily pro-Trump, but like she would have heard like Steven Crowder or Ben
Yeah, yeah.
Shapiro or someone like that talking through the fucking wall, maybe. But at that point, you're going up to potentially a pro-Trump person saying that you're going to put a bullet in the guy's head, and I don't understand why you would fucking do that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you know, technically that's illegal for her to say that, eh? Like you could report, like, technically, not that you should. I don't think you should, but
because it's terrorism, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
that's-
It's a threat on the president's life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's the thing. If anyone was saying like, "Oh, Trudeau deserves to get a bullet" or whatever, I'd be pretty fucking shocked, honestly. Like, I don't think that any like Western politician genuinely deserves death. Not even fucking Trump.
Yeah, pretty much. Did you see when they had the guillotine? I'll see if I can pull it up on the screen. You see when they had the
I
guillotine in
heard
front of the
about it.
White
I never.
House?
I heard that that was in front of like Jeff Bezos' place, right?
No, in front of the White House. They had a fake Trump set up with a guillotine over his head, and yeah, in front of the White House.
Really?
Yeah,
Give me a
pull it. I'll send you the link.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, there's no there. Second reply. Which is pretty wild when you think like people are at that point that they're willing to risk they're posing next to Trump in a guillotine. Like that's just wild.
Well, I don't, and this is the thing that I'm not really understanding. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't understand. Like, why? I guess they're all wearing fucking masks, right? Like, that's the reason why they're okay with going out and doing that. Because, look, I'm sure that's free speech as well at the end of the day. Like, it really is. Well, maybe it's not, actually. I don't know if putting a guillotine out there is speech or if that's a threat.
I mean,
That could be a threat, right?
You know it's a threat, but it would be hard to prove. You could say, I think legally you could easily say, well, that's someone else.
I don't know. Can I put a guillotine outside your house?
True.
Am I allowed to just go outside random citizens' houses and start putting fucking guillotines out
true.
there and threatening them? Like, because that's a threatening action, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you put a guillotine out the front of my house, I don't think that you're just trying to say something. I think that you're making a threat at that point.
Well,
like, to me,
there's those
I
people
don't know.
that
I'm
get
not
arrested.
a fucking lawyer. I have no idea. But like, to me, it feels like if you put a guillotine out in front of my house, or if you all turn up to my house with AK-47s, I'd get the picture. You want me dead, right? Like, isn't that what you're saying? Like,
Well, it's like the NASCAR driver that had the noose, you know, or it wasn't actually a noose, but it was he thought it was a noose in his garage, or the race crimes where they stick like a cross and burn it in front of like someone's house. So yeah, that's like a very valid point. It's the same thing, and people get in real big trouble for that.
Like, the KKK used to burn crosses out the front of people's houses, right? Like, that has to be less threatening than a guillotine, doesn't it?
Also, think about this. I've never thought about this yet, which is interesting. The same time that everyone's wearing masks, so everyone was told you got to stay in and you got to wear masks and all this stuff, and you're an evil person if you don't come outside.
Yeah.
But then when they were protesting Trump and everything, and they have the masks, like that's very convenient that they let them protest. They're like, go out and protest. You know, just wear your masks. It's kind of interesting that. think it could have been masterminded like that, but I mean,
Well, I just think the thing is, I think that it could even be obviously less sinister than that. I think that it could very easily just be that when you allow for everyone to wear masks and it's common. Okay, here's a good example, right? I worked at a bank for like 2 years back in Australia while I was in high school. We obviously have to go through very severe security training, right? Bomb
Right.
training, threat assessment training, like what to do if someone's trying to hold up the fucking bank. I've worked with people who have been held up in armed robberies, right? Pissed themselves because they're literally being held up. Like poor women just like literally pissing themselves from having a gun put to their fucking chest. Now, I went into a bank in Ontario, no, in Ontario, and it was for my girlfriend and I to basically split our joint account up. And we both walked into this bank, sunglasses on, masks on, hat on. They didn't even check my ID. I kept the mask on the entire interaction.
Jeez, interesting.
The entire, like, literally, Leah and I are sitting next to each other. We got fucking Buddy in front of us dealing with this whole thing. The whole time, we both have masks on. We could have literally dragged him out of the room into the main area with a fucking gun to his head and taken money and walked out. And there's no real identifying us at that point.
Yeah.
You get a 6'2" guy and a 5'11" girl and hair color. That's not enough to identify someone. Like, it's just not at least as far as I've been trained working in a bank. And I don't understand how you're just allowing people to sort of operate like that. But my point is simply that if you allow people to just go out there wearing fucking masks and it's okay in high security places like a bank, well, you've basically just told them that they can wear it wherever. And obviously, when all of these riots start, I would imagine that most of the people that are getting into these riots or hurting people or doing anything are wearing fucking masks because they don't want to get fucking arrested. Like, and I don't think that it's I think that banks should be telling people to fucking take off masks. I think that you should be taking off masks if you're in any sort of area, like if you're in a convenience store or in a gas station or any area, a liquor store, any area that's likely to get fucking robbed. I think that taking these masks off is just protecting the other people around you. Like, it's not. I'm much less worried about COVID than getting fucking shot by some guy in a riot. If I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, if I live in fucking Portland right now, I don't give a fuck about COVID.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less.
I'm getting the hell out of Portland. That's it. I'm done.
That's it, man. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That's
like,
that's how you create
There
classes.
should be a mask ban in Portland. They should just ban everyone from wearing fucking masks there.
And that's how you really create a classless state. You just have these riots, and then the people with money can leave, and the people without money can't, and then you just separate the classes that way. Easy.
But that's also the thing that, like, and a lot of people have been talking about this. That's also the problem where there's, like, all the damage that you're doing means that not only, yes, affluent rich people are going to leave, but also no rich people are going to come in. And none of them are going to invest in starting a business in fucking Portland. No one's starting a brick and mortar store in a place that's just had 100 days of kicking every fucking window in the city.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just, no one's
payout.
doing that. So what happens is you create a horrible problem where all of the people in fucking Portland are now poor. No one's starting any businesses. All the jobs go away. Like, they're killing themselves. They're just decimating their own area. And no one is going to fucking move there now.
It wasn't it the Portland mayor? Weren't they like rioting outside the Portland mayor's?
They tried to burn his apartment down.
And this is the guy saying he wants to defund the police.
This is the guy that's sticking by their side and not letting the federales come in and fuck their day up. Like, he's literally telling Trump to keep the cops away. We don't want the fucking cops to come in. We are happy letting these fucking thugs just burn our city down, man. Like, and then they turn up to his fucking house and demand that he gets kicked back out, which is honestly exactly what should happen. Because regardless of which way you look at it, he's not protecting the city. And his job is to keep his fucking citizens safe. So either the people on the far left have it right, and he's a racist fucking mayor who has these racist police who are all out to fucking kill them, or he's not defending his citizens from this angry fucking mob, and either way, he should just be fired. Like, he should just be fucking gone.
You know, I just found an article. He was tear gassed while out protesting. Like,
I know.
what do you mean? You're the mayor.
But because he was standing with the protesters on, like, night 97 of the fucking protests. He was standing with the fucking protesters, and the cops came and fucking started tear gassing people because they were trying to burn down the fucking government buildings for the 90th night in a row. Like, I just don't
understand.
understand. What are you saying? What are you saying to the regular citizens of Portland at that point? Like, what are you telling them? Are you telling them that you just do not give a fuck?
It gives them so much. It gives the federal government so much power too, because the mayor's basically going like this and saying, you know, federal government, they own us. You know, that's it.
Right.
That's it. It's all against the federal government. When if you would have just kept your city calm, the federal agents wouldn't have had to come into your city in the first place, right?
Exactly.
Like,
why is it so hard to just tell your fucking citizens to stop rioting?
yeah.
Hey, stop rioting or we're going to arrest every single one of you. Like, all of you.
Stop causing a ton of money loss, you know? You're just
Stop
hurting
destroying
yourselves.
poor immigrant businesses. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, could you imagine being a convenience store owner? You moved there as an immigrant. You've been in the country for 20 years. You've been saving and working your ass off 7 days a week, 12 hours a day to try and fucking provide a life for your family so that your children can go to a decent school and not have to fucking own a convenience store. And then these fucking idiots just destroy everything and then fucking turn around and say, oh, it's fine, they have insurance, which is like the fucking comment that just keeps coming out of these people's fucking mouths when it's like, are you fucking retarded? Firstly, insurance is only going to cover so much. Secondly, you then have to pay a premium on top of that. Thirdly, your fucking insurance is going to go up forever. Fourth, it probably doesn't even cover a lot of that fucking damage. So you're just putting these people out tens of thousands of dollars, if not over $100,000 very easily of money that they do not have.
Yeah. Or the revenue you lose during when your business is down, or the future revenue when people start leaving the city and stuff. You know?
Exactly. Insurance ain't paying for any of that, motherfucker. Like, they don't give a fuck. And on top of it, once again, if everyone starts to fucking get their insurance companies to bail them out of this situation, the insurance goes up for everybody. That's how insurance works. So you are just making things more expensive, once again, for people who it hurts the most. Why do their lives not matter?
Yeah, it's just a simplistic viewpoint, really.
Because they're not black. That's why.
I'd be interested to see.
Life only matters if you're black. Just ask Tyrone Woodley.
They destroyed black-owned businesses. There's videos of black people coming out and being like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know.
And then getting like fucking shot and shit as well. Like, I know it's fucking terrible.
I'd be interested to see if Latinos I'm curious how many immigrants will vote for Trump this year versus 2016.
Way
more.
An
interesting stat.
Way more, man. Way more. Because I don't think, especially non-black minorities, because Asian people like the police. Okay, like, I don't know what these people think, but like, Asian people really like the police. And Asian people are actually sort of racist towards black people a lot of the time as well, so they don't sympathetic to your fucking cause.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
And
they were the ones on in the 1992 riots. They were the ones on the what was it? The Koreans. The Koreans were the ones on the roofs and defending their stores.
Yeah. Well, did you ever hear about what happened during like 9/11?
No.
In 9/11, there were fucking like people. This is such a bad story. I don't know why I'm laughing, but there were people who were like trying to get fucking concrete out of their eyes from all the fucking damage, and they're going up to these like 7-Elevens, being like, "Can I have some water?" And they're like charging people like $10 a bottle for fucking water to fucking rinse their eyes out.
No way.
Yeah,
Holy
100%,
fuck.
man. But that's the thing. They don't give a fuck. They're not. That's not their problem. That's not their problem. And for a lot of Asian people, it's like when you complain about the fucking police to them, or when you complain about, they don't give a fuck, because where they come from, these problems are not big problems.
Yeah.
Like 13 unarmed black people dying in a year from police, that's not a big problem in China. That's not a big problem in Thailand. That's not a big problem in Vietnam or the Philippines or India or any of these countries.
China, they don't like you. You're in a concentration camp. Like,
Fucking
that should be
exactly.
the whole motto of Trump's campaign. It should be like, you don't want. It should be something along the lines of not China. Like that's it. Like
Yeah,
you don't
keep
want China
America,
taking
not
over.
China.
None of you want China taking over. Like, come on. You know?
Yeah, 100%. And it's just fucking silly. Like it's silly to expect other people to give a fuck about some of these problems when a lot of the minorities in America have come from places with far worse problems than 13 unarmed black people dying in a year. Don't get me wrong, that's a problem. I would love for that number to be 0, right? Like no unarmed police killings are a good thing, no matter what color you are, no matter where you come from. It's not a good, no one wants that. But to say that like other groups are going to be more sympathetic to the BLM cause versus their own lives is just absurd. And those people are not voting for Joe Biden. Like, I don't know anyone that's pro-police. I don't see how you can vote for someone on the left anymore. I just don't see how you can do it.
Pretty much, yeah. That's it. You think we should move on to the black,
Yeah.
the white store owner shoots black protester?
Yeah, it's probably a good little segue here, actually. So, okay, so, yeah, white store
this
owner
nigga got a
shoots
gun,
black
bro.
protester, freed
Oh,
with
that
no
nigga got
charge.
a gun.
So,
Hey, that's not
on
worth it,
Saturday
nigga.
night, let me fucking bring this up on my screen. So on Saturday night, James Scurlock joined protesters in Omaha, Nebraska. James Scurlock seems to be the black gentleman, to seek justice for the death of George Floyd. Oh, fuck, they'll be going for justice for a long time. It's been about 4 fucking months already. He never returned. He never returned home. Jacob Gardner shot him dead after he was standing in front of the bar that the Gardner family owns. Bystanders caught the confrontation on camera, and a gunshot could be heard as Gardner confronted Scurlock. Do you want to play that Snapchat video again? I wouldn't mind watching it.
Yeah, I'll play it again. I'll put the volume up.
Hey, that's not worth it, nigga.
It's hard to see.
It's super hard to see what's going on here.
Oh!
That's it. It's just
You
basically.
hear the gunshots go off, but I don't even really see the people involved specifically. And then when you scroll down, so in this article they're saying Jake Gardner is a free man after killing James Scurlock. There will be no charges filed against Gardner, a white store owner. Well, I don't think his race matters, but a white store owner after he claimed that this was an act of self-defense. And, quote, sort of saying that he's like lying about it. He believes that Scurlock was posing a threat to him and his family and is responsible for pushing his father to the ground at one point. Is he responsible for pushing the father to the ground? Because if so, I mean, I could see that being self-defense. Like, my dad's dad is 92 years old, and I'm sure to fuck if my granddad got pushed on the ground by some guy in front of my dad's house. I mean, there's no guns in Australia, but he's not going to be very fucking happy, that's for sure. Right? Like, the second shot he fired off proved to be deadly, so he shot
If
it
anyone
twice.
did anything to my any family members of mine, I'm going in. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, I'm going in. But I think the question is also, is this a state where is it a stand your ground state? Can you are you able to pull out a gun, shoot someone to protect yourself? Which I think it is, based on how they initially handled it. And if so, you can't then go back and, like, it doesn't matter if someone made, which we'll get into this in a second because it's not really how they make it seem. But even if someone made some transphobic, racist, sexist comments, it doesn't matter if someone got attacked and shot someone else in self-defense and it's legal to do that in your state. That's it. Case closed.
Right. Like, yeah, look at, like, that Kyle Rittenhouse thing, right? Like, it's pretty damn clear that he's going to be getting off on all those charges because it was clearly self-defense. Yeah. Now, I don't know exactly what happened in this story, right? Especially from this article, it seems hard to understand. That video is not great. But then, here's what the county attorney says. So Douglas County Attorney Don Klein said in a news conference that after looking at the footage, the determination has been made that the shooting was in self-defense. Okay. He also said that there is video evidence that he wants the public to see other than just the Snapchat video that has been circulating on social media. Law enforcement came to this decision after reviewing all of the evidence that was presented to them. In interviews with investigators, Gardner maintained that he was trying to protect himself and was fearful that Scurlock was a threat. Okay, so the county attorney said it was self-defense. They also say that there's more video than this 13-second bullshit Snapchat. out there.
Yeah.
Fucking crazily enough that there's more evidence than this 10-second grainy as fuck video that looked like it was filmed out of a tin can. He's maintaining that it was self-defense as well, but it seems like these guys, like this article, definitely does not believe that it was self-defense. I just wonder what sort of evidence they have that it wasn't. You know,
I mean,
let's see what they say. So people started the hashtag Justice for James Scurlock. In the wake of fighting for justice for Floyd, everyone is completely and utterly outraged and shocked. Everyone's outraged these days. And shocked that more racial killings are taking place. As a black man, Scurlock is believed to have been targeted in this attack by Gardner. So it wasn't because Scurlock pushed his dad to the ground and was threatening him. It was because he was black. Okay. And as per Black Lives Matter advocates on Twitter, the fucking oracle of truth. The fucking Black Lives Matter.
Everything those guys say is true, so watch out.
Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. Well, look at what this one Twitter user said. What the fuck is that? One Twitter user said, Jake Gardner walked free today after murdering 22-year-old James Scurlock. Gardner has a history of making transphobic, racist, and sexist comments but today he was protected by a system that commends his morals. I am disgusted and heartbroken. Hashtag justice for James Scurlock. Hashtag no justice, no peace. Have the police seen this Twitter comment? Because that should just tie it all up, right? Like, he's clearly guilty. He's clearly guilty.
4K likes.
Right. He was transphobic. That's guilty, right? Like, that means that he murdered the guy.
Where do we know that he was spewing racial slurs? Is there any proof that he said racial things, or is that...
As far as I can see, I can only see the transphobic one, which, I mean, I could see people
and
also
let's
using
just go over the transphobic one is just that was the bathroom one, right?
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second to show it, but I couldn't find the racist comments, and maybe you could say that the transphobic comments are also sexist, but I don't see any racism, but I'm sure that Morty or Spamgella would not have got their fucking facts wrong, Mitch.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Like, this person is obviously a fucking detective.
I mean, they did use the hashtag no justice, no peace, so I mean, like, pretty much locked. Done.
He very clearly said that the guy murdered a 22-year-old. Like, he must know something that the police don't. So I just think that we should take his word for it, and yeah, this guy's definitely a killer. So let's look at the transphobic comments that he made, because I'm interested to see if you agree with Spamgella's fucking assessment on this. So
he started a firestorm on Facebook when he suggested transgender women should not use the women's restroom unless they have had their appendage removed and their state identification changed. And keep in mind, too, he said that he regrets the appendage part of his statement, and he thought he was posting to his friends, and then it just went viral. So it's not like he was out there screaming his opinions. This is an accidental, someone started sharing it too, right?
So basically what he said was men shouldn't use the women's bathroom. Right? Like, he said, if you have a dick and if the government thinks you're a man, then you should use the men's bathroom.
And they need to have their identification changed. Yeah, exactly.
But that's what I'm saying. So if you have a dick and the government thinks that you're a man, like, if the government still believes that you're a man and you can't prove to anyone that you are a woman in the eyes of the law, then you shouldn't be using the women's bathroom, is what this guy's saying, right?
Right.
So I think that, I mean...
And just once, let me interject
is that
here.
wrong?
He also said that he did include there was an assault at his bar which happened a couple of years ago that led him to post the article along with these comments, right? And he said he had an incident where a person in women's clothes but with male genitalia urinated in the woman's bathroom standing up. A woman in the bathroom said something. The person assaulted the woman. Bar staff ejected the attacker. The victim did not want a police report made. So It's not like he's also basing this off. Like he's like you said, he's basing it off of
He's
some
basing this
valid.
off an experience in his business where someone
Yeah.
got assaulted by a trans woman or whatever, somebody with a penis that assaulted some woman in his bar or in his business,
Yeah.
and so he now believes that people with penises shouldn't go in the women's bathroom,
Yeah.
right?
Which is
Now-
pretty valid, you know. Like I remember
Well-
when I was in grade 6, me and my buddy went down to, me and my buddy were on the trails. We were on this like hike, right, with the whole class, and we waited till the class was like half a mile ahead of us, and we went in the woods and took a piss, and we got suspended for that, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
but everyone else is saying these men should be able to go in the women's bathrooms and do whatever they
And-
want, which it doesn't make, you know.
It's because they're not men, Mitch. It's because they're women.
They're
Even
right.
though-
They're women.
even
Sorry,
though-
they're women. They're women.
Even though their identification says that they're a man and their genitalia says that they're a man, they are women.
They're
So
women.
and, this
And
is-
they
and I
menstruate.
would-
They menstruate too.
That's right. They can have birth, give birth.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. Well, so this is the way that I would challenge anyone that sort of disagrees with this guy. If you disagree with what he's saying, right, which is that he thinks that you should have your identification reflect who you are saying that you are, and he can take back the appendage thing or not, it doesn't matter. I definitely think that part, the government part, makes the most sense. Like, are we meant to just allow people who are identified by the government as men into women's bathrooms? Because that's the real question, right? Regardless of what you say that you identify as, regardless of any of that, should I be allowed to go into a women's bathroom just for saying that I identify as a woman?
I don't even know if that. I think the biggest question there is that does that mean that when he murders someone in self-defense that he is invalidated because you are identifying this as transphobic, racist, and sexist, right? Like, is that even? Does that even come into play? Does this even come into play in a situation?
Yeah, does
where
this even
someone is-
matter? Like, why is this even being brought up?
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, why are we even talking about his fucking transphobic comments? Like, we can argue whether or not they're transphobic all day long, but in reality, does that have anything to do with what happened?
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
can we even call it
murder-
racist comment?
Murder, opinions on whether you should go into the bathroom if you have a dick or not. Like, I think one kind of is bigger than the other, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you genuinely believed that he murdered someone, like, you shouldn't need to talk about all of the politically incorrect stuff, because he did
Yep.
something that's actually incorrect. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to worry about him saying the wrong. He fucking killed someone.
Yeah.
Like, if that, you know what I mean? If you genuinely believe it's murder, prove it. Don't just fucking slander the guy. And
And if that's what tips the scales from it being self-defense to murder, him being transphobic, like, you didn't have
Yeah.
a good you didn't have a good case at all in the first place. That's it.
no,
You didn't have a
fucking
good
way.
case at all.
That's the only evidence, and that seems to be the only evidence that anyone's bringing up. Like, the county attorney said that it was self-defense. They say that they have a video that shows that it was self-defense. He believes that the guy was trying to attack him and his family. Sounds like self-defense. And, I mean, it obviously, once again, I don't like that a person died in this situation, but to some extent, if you go up and harass people outside their homes, people are volatile. And maybe if the guy did murder this guy, he does deserve to be in prison. But, like, there also has to be some sort of accountability for the guy that goes around the murderer's house threatening his family and shit, right? But, I mean, what ended up happening with this guy? He got let go, right?
Close.
What
Yeah.
happened?
No, he's dead. Killed himself.
He's dead. He
Yeah.
killed himself. Why did he kill himself?
Shot himself on the day he said he would surrender in connection with manslaughter, and so they got him on manslaughter and 3 other felony charges stemming from that confrontation, right?
Because I think he had an illegal gun or something like that, which is why it would have been manslaughter. Even if it was self-defense, because you had an illegal gun and you shot the guy, then it would be manslaughter.
Now,
Which is
here's-
sort of the...
Now,
go on.
to be fair, and this is I think where our whole stance on politics I think comes down to this, because as I'm reading it, they said, okay, because you have to look into everything, no matter what you originally think. They said the bar owner who had posted on Facebook the weekend of May 30th. Sorry, they said this is written badly. Like, journalism these days is terrible. They said the bar owner who had posted on Facebook the weekend of May 30th that he was. Okay, I'm gonna rewrite this in my own word. I'm gonna re-say it. Basically, he posted on Facebook that weekend that he was going downtown to pull a military-style fire watch, and felt like he was in a warlike environment during the chaos that engulfed downtown Omaha that night. Which is basically all that they revealed. He also suffered 2 traumatic brain injuries while serving 2 tours in Iraq.
So he's a veteran as well.
He's a veteran.
Fuck, man. This is the other thing that's really hard, right? Like, veterans are starting to come out. Veterans are starting to genuinely come out. I saw a video the other day. I can probably find it when we have a chat tomorrow. But veterans are starting to come out basically saying openly to their local councils, like, if you don't do something about this, we took an oath to protect our country from foreign and domestic enemies. There are domestic enemies right now. And I would even, once again, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not representing anybody. But, like, from just a personal standpoint, I would say that if you're seeing your fucking city getting burnt down and you're a vet, I could make a really good argument that you are doing that out of what you believe to be self-defense.
Yeah. And it's kind of, so this is another really good paragraph. They're saying that, so Gardner claimed that Scurlock, the guy that he shot, had him in a chokehold, wouldn't let go, despite Gardner's repeated pleas to get off of him, and at the end of the 18-second struggle, Gardner switched the gun to his left hand, fired over his shoulder, and that killed him, right? And the next line is, grand jurors, under the guidance of a special prosecutor, ruled out self-defense as a justification. Which, those two things don't really add up to me, but okay.
Yeah. Fuck, I just don't know what you're, like, so here's and I think that, we're getting caught in the weeds a bit, but, like, so he goes and kills himself. Why do you think that he killed himself? Because it says somewhere, doesn't it? I mean, doesn't it say why he killed himself or something like that?
Well, they say it's some mental in the end, if you get, I think it was put online, there's a good comment online, but basically if you know that you're innocent and you have a mob put you in jail for, I don't know how many years this was. If convicted, Gardner would have faced up to 95 years in prison. Like, that is a...
Jesus.
I would lose faith. Like, what am I living for? Like, I would want to live, but I wouldn't want to live in this society. I would not be living in this society,
No. And I would also say that it's very... I can imagine that if you're in his position right now, even if you do feel like you did this out of self-defense, and you feel like you're innocent of the crime, I mean, look at what's happening to those other cops in the George Floyd thing, right? Like the training cops. People are essentially trying to lynch them. And I think that there's a genuine worry, if you are a guy like this, that these people are going to lynch you before you even get to face a fair trial. Yeah. And then when you do go to trial, will it even be fair, or are you going to be serving 95 years for something just because the political climate is so intense that the fucking judge or the jury feels like they have to fucking crucify you?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's a different... I think both sides... I think on one hand you have a guy that probably should have had a legal gun, probably shouldn't have been out there, even though I understand why he wanted to be out there. Probably shouldn't have been out there, knowing that
I don't know if he's defending his dad, Mitch. If he's defending his dad...
If he's defending his dad, then yes.
I don't see any reason why he should be inside. If your dad's getting pushed around outside, you're not just going to stay inside with your gun and just let him get attacked.
Well, it's just, in the end, you can't use, in this article it also talks about how a bodyguard was accused of being racist at their bar. Some former employees said Jake Gardner had used the N-word in his presence, and this employee was also black, by the way. But racism doesn't have anything to do with, you can't just say, okay, if this guy wasn't black, so it wasn't murder. If this guy wasn't black, then it wasn't murder. If he
It
was
wouldn't
Asian,
be an
was
issue.
it murder?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like,
And that's the thing. Would it have been self-defense if the person who died was white?
yeah,
That's what I'm trying to understand. Is like if we take like it's so frustrating that when we read these articles, it's like, oh, Jacob, whoever the guy that just killed himself was, like, is a white man who killed a black man. Like, he either killed another human by murdering him, or he was defending himself from another human and happened to kill him.
exactly.
I don't think that the color should matter. Like, it shouldn't matter, and if we're genuinely just looking at these things seriously, I don't know. It's fucking silly. Do we want to move on to the next thing?
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of infuriating. But yeah.
Oh, it's super infuriating, and it's also just one of those things where it's like, I just feel bad for this guy. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for his family. I feel bad for the person who died as well, and his family, of course. But guess what? If you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. If you go around pushing people's fucking family members and threatening people outside of their homes, I don't give a fuck.
Especially if
what
they're waving,
reason you're doing it
a
for.
gun at you. That's the other thing I was gonna say. The other side is that you don't assault someone that is waving a gun at you. You know.
Yes, they're telling you.
Especially
go
when they're
away,
telling you to get off
motherfucker.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just don't do
That's
it.
right. They're saying stop. They're saying stop. And in fact, they're doing it in probably a way that you should be able to understand real quick. Like, guess what? I don't give a fuck, man. Like, if I was picking on someone or if I was getting into a confrontation with someone and they pull their gun out,
Oh.
the confrontation's over. I'm done with it. Like,
Yeah.
it's you win, bro. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't know what more is gonna happen. I'm not gonna beat you. I'm not going to win this fight now. Like, it's over, right? So, that's the whole reason for the Second Amendment in America. That's why they have that fucking whole rule in their system in the first place, is so that if you're a 120-pound woman, you can brandish your gun and stop a potential rapist from raping you, or a potential murderer, or you can defend your home, or whatever. It equalizes the situation, or at least makes it so that you can stop someone without having to get physical.
Well,
The brandishing of the gun should end the situation.
Yeah, and I've talked to some Texans that say they actually rather everyone carry a gun, because when you carry a gun, you also know that you think that everyone else is carrying a gun, and therefore you're not going to go rob someone, you're not going to get in a fight, because you're just assuming that everyone else has a gun and you don't want to get shot. Like, you don't want to so he says he thinks it makes, the guy in specific I talked to, he says he thinks it makes everyone more peaceful, in his opinion. Whether that's true or not, who knows, but yeah, I mean,
I think that there's definitely an argument for it. I think that there's an argument for both ways, right? Like, if everyone has a gun, or if no one has a gun, you're probably going to get a very similar level of peace.
Yeah.
The issue is when half the country has a gun.
Exactly. If half the world has
Like, when you're not looking at it in, like,
Yeah.
Texas. Yes, exactly. That's right. Because now it's just like a real could you imagine being someone trying to buy a gun now and knowing that they're all sold out and just having to live in America gunless?
Oh my god.
That has to be the fucking worst. I'm so glad I live in, like, Canada and Australia where there's no fucking guns, and, like, you're never really going to run into someone with one. But Jesus fuck, I would not be leaving my home at this point, and it would not be because of COVID. It would be because I wouldn't want to get my fucking head blown off. Like, seriously, fuck.
Next article, the surge of absences
School?
means virtual learning for basically in general. This article is on the surge on a specific school having virtual learning because, employees are leaving. But in general, there's a whole debate on, do you let kids go to school? There's a lot of backlash on that. So, I mean,
Dude, the amount of teachers I've been talking to recently that have just said that this whole thing is a fucking joke. It's just a fucking joke. Like, could you imagine being a virtual student? Could you imagine having to go through high school again virtually?
Well, let's get a specific stat out of the way before we talk about any of this.
Yeah,
kids
sure.
are the least likely to have COVID, or kids are the least likely to suffer any symptoms of COVID, die from COVID, whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the first thing we should get out of the way. They can spread it, but if you
the counter argument to that is that they'll get it and come home and spread it to the other family. But the problem is that even if a kid gets it, they're not likely to be symptomatic, and the fucking CDC and the WHO have already come out and said that asymptomatic fucking COVID carriers aren't infecting anybody.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter. Like, it's not a big deal to let kids go to school. But the fucking downside of not sending children to school is massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
Massive. Do you think China is keeping their kids home from education right now?
No. I saw a really cool video, by the way, where they were all. Anyways, I'll show you that tomorrow.
Go on, tell me. Yeah, what's up?
The video, it kind of made me realize a little bit what. It was a video of. You might have seen it, where it's like 50 of those kids, and I've never seen it before, but they all looked like they were probably 6 or 7, right? And they had 2 basketballs in their hand, and they're bouncing them at the same time, and they bounce them. Then they do a bounce, catch one from the other person,
Pass
and
it to
pass the
the
other one to the
next,
cell.
yeah.
So they do this circle. It's so interesting because they're all in sync. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
kids of the China's next generation.
I know.
Like, we're fucked. We're
Our
done.
fucking kids are eating Tide Pods and shit. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like, we can barely even send our kids to school in the best of times.
Yeah.
Let alone have them fucking doing synchronized fucking basketball shit.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that shit in high. Like, we were doing stuff in gym when I was young, but we weren't doing synchronized like stuff like that. You might have played tier 1 soccer. You might have been good at sports, but having every kid in gym class sync it up, half the kids were sitting in the corner like picking their nose and stuff. You know.
Oh, I was spending so much time jerking off in high school that there was no fucking time for like fucking interesting sporting activities. It was like I would do fighting and stuff like that, like in my as my sport, but outside of school and MMA, it was go home and masturbate. Like I don't know, like that.
The testosterone.
I don't know what they
was
do
high.
in China to like make these kids just focus on actually doing some shit. I guess if they're like 6, 7 years old, they're probably not doing that yet. But
Yeah. Yes, Jeffrey Epstein. Jeez. But seriously, yeah. Anyways, Yeah, no, I don't think China's gonna have. China probably has all their kids or at least even if they have virtual online learning, China probably has some really good software. From what I've heard over here,
Yeah.
all the virtual learning isn't working. There's one kid in Florida that DDoS'd the servers, so no one could go to school that day. Like, it's probably utter shit that we're giving the kids in. No,
Dude,
no,
here's
my
an
cousin
example.
actually started virtual school 2 weeks ago, and she couldn't get for the first 3 days. She only got like 1 or 2 classes going, because all the
Yeah.
other classes either weren't working, they were down. These teachers don't know how to work this software.
Well, here's
trained on that.
here's the example for my brother, right? Like our school terms are different timed in the year in Australia
Right.
than yours, right? And when COVID hit, they're in the middle of their semester, and so they took like a quick week's break and then sent the kids back to school, but it was all online. They emailed my mother, basically said, "Hey, you don't have to worry about you don't have to do anything. We've got it all handled. We're going to make sure that Kai does his schoolwork. You just fucking sit there and don't worry about it. We've got it handled."
Right.
They're corresponding with my 13-year-old brother via email. Okay, no phone calls, no Zoom calls, no like vocal interaction with a teacher at all. They're working on a fucking honor system with a 13-year-old.
Jeez.
They're then like calling my mum 3 weeks into this shit going like, "Oh, Kai hasn't done any fucking work." And it's like, of course he hasn't done any work. He is a 13-year-old.
Yeah, he's playing COD.
Like, what did you
Fortnite.
expect him to do? Like, I don't, like, why would you expect this kid to do the work on his own? And why would you tell the parents that they don't need to do anything? Like, okay, if you're not going to have schools open, you need to tell the parents that they need to, like, do some fucking work as well. You're eliminating the teacher from the room.
Yeah, the
Like-
parents. Well, I was talking to a parent too that she said it was the worst. She hated it because her kids were probably I think 12 and like 8, like around those ages, and she
Yeah.
said they were fighting all the time. They couldn't focus. She was basically now the teacher, right? Instead of the
Yeah.
actual teachers doing the work, now the mothers and the fathers are at home trying to get their kids to do schoolwork, keeping them in check. She said it was
Yeah.
the worst time. She actually had some sort of stress-related issue that she had to go to the hospital for around that time too. And I was like, do you think that's because of the? She said 100% some of that stress was directly caused by virtual learning. And it's like, of course, like you're not going to have, sure, some kids, the ideal kid could probably do virtual learning fine, but knowing if it was me, I'd be playing video games, that's it. Like you put me in front of a
Yeah.
computer with
But
no
that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
That's what we were doing. Every day I'd be playing video games with him because I'm there, like, back in Australia because I was in Thailand when COVID hit. And I'm sitting there going, like, "Have you done your work?" He's like, yeah, done my work. Okay, cool. Let's go play fucking Super Smash Brothers. And then we're playing video games for the rest of the afternoon. And then we find out that he's been doing zero work, right? He's done literally nothing. And I'm sure that you could blame him for that, right? Like, you very easily could blame him for that. But in reality, what do you expect from a 13-year-old? What do you expect from a child? This is why we send them to school, so they can learn how to be functioning people.
Yep.
They can learn responsibilities. They can learn all of the things. Like, you can't just take them out of this shit. I think that almost at this point, for the kids that have been out of school or having to do virtual, you should almost just make them all repeat the year.
Yeah.
Which is hard, and I don't like the idea that would have to be done to anybody, but it seems like the best thing for their education, if that's what we're actually looking for.
Everyone should just go back in around January, and then you just start as if it was January of last year.
Yeah.
Probably makes the most sense.
And then the other part is, like, if you send your kid to a fucking public school, are you going to get a discount on your fucking taxes or something this year? Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like seriously, can I get some money back for this shit? Like, what the fuck? If I paid, and I think it's the same thing if you're paying for university. Like, how the fuck are they charging you the same fucking amount to not do the same job? Could you imagine going to McDonald's and being like, yeah, can I get a Big Mac? And they just bring it back and there's no meat in the fucking burger, and you're like,
you the
what's this? Yeah, and they're like, exactly. They like throw the ingredients at you, and they're just like, go fucking make the burger yourself, you fucking idiot. You're like, why the fuck did I just pay $6 for this burger? Too fucking bad, bro. Shut the fuck up. Get out of here. Like, you COVID.
At this point, there's so many arguments. It's the social aspect too. Like, socially, you're gonna have people become even more. Kids are already socially deficient. They're gonna be even more socially deficient, and
bro, just plug them in even further. Like, let's just plug everyone in as hard as we can to the fucking internet.
And also, what about the frontline workers? Like, there were so many frontline workers when this was going on, and you're telling me teachers shouldn't be frontline workers? These teachers are definitely frontline. They're teaching my kids. You know, the kids that are gonna be the next generation. I don't give a fuck if you have to
put them behind a plexiglass fucking dome. Do it. Great, whatever. Fucking put them in a cube. Put them in a bubble. I don't give a shit. They need to teach children. This is their job. They don't get paid very much for it. I don't give a fuck. Like, go do your job. You shouldn't have been a teacher. Like, I don't understand. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? You have to teach children properly. You have to genuinely teach them.
Pretty much.
I feel like most of these, I think that what we're going to see basically is, like, any of these kids that do then go on to the next year are going to fail the next year hard. Like, you're going to see failure rates of kids in the next year way higher than ever before.
Yep.
Right? Like, you would have to imagine that kids aren't learning as well as they usually would right now.
Yeah. I agree. It's not just that, they're going to be not used to learning, they're going to miss stuff from this year, and they're not going to be able to carry it over next year. It's just a mess. It's a complete
But their
mess.
lives don't matter. Their lives don't matter. They're not 90 years old with 3 underlying health conditions and no use to our society anymore. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, I don't understand. Like, children, what happened to the whole, like, children of the future thing?
Yeah. Everyone's just giving up. They're like, fuck it. They're all on their tablets and shit. Yeah.
Just fuck you, kid. Like, Jesus Christ. We give a fuck about grandpa.
It's going to be interesting to see how these kids turn out. Like, I think these kids are growing up in a really scary...
They're going to put their fucking parents in the home.
You're teaching kids right now you're teaching kids that... Basically, you're teaching kids that everything that's happened over the past year is valid. Which is not true. It's not true that they should be this scared of a virus that they aren't going to school.
I know.
But you're
like, could you imagine? Like, don't get me wrong. If this was like a real fucking... If this was Ebola... I'd be like, okay, we probably shouldn't be sending these kids to school. I don't want them, like, vomiting and shitting themselves to death in front of everybody. Like, that sounds like a fucking nightmare, right? But that's not what's happening.
It's not.
That's not what's happening. Like, what's happening is these kids get it, and that's about it.
Yeah.
That's sort of what happened.
They won't spread it because you got to spread it usually through, coughing
Droplets.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, it's like... Doesn't make any sense, but that's how the world is right now. That's it. Everything, we talk about all this stuff, But really, it comes down to it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, everything we talked about right now,
Bizarro world at this point.
no sense. Clown world,
No.
like it's ridiculous. I think we should save. I think personally, now that it's an hour into the stream, I think we should save the last two. I don't know. Should we save the last two for tomorrow, or should we keep going?
Why don't we just keep going? Fuck it.
Okay. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Yeah,
RBG, dies at 87.
Notorious RBG. Have you ever seen that meme?
No, what is it?
The Notorious RBG?
Let me look it up. People on 4chan were saying RGB, like the color.
Like, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. The Life and Times of Ruth Bader. You know, respect. That's actually good. That's actually a good title book. That's a good.
What was the book?
Isn't that a book? Isn't that where the meme? New York Times
I don't
bestseller,
know.
Notorious RBG.
Yeah, the meme comes from Notorious B.I.G. It's Biggie Smalls.
Yeah, but she actually yes.
She actually
but-
made a book called The Notorious RBG. That's
Yeah, it's actually
hilarious.
called
That
the
is really
Notorious
funny.
RBG: The Life and Times of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah, I respect for that. You know, and to
She's
be
a fucking
fair,
meme queen.
I'm sure she was a badass, but look, she died. She was a badass. She held on till the very end to
Yeah.
try and keep that seat.
Open
And
for a dem. And
respect.
I respect the fuck out of that, honestly. Like, I really do respect that. But you've failed,
Yeah,
and they're going to fucking put a Republican in. Like, that's what's going to happen, right? Like,
yeah,
I think it's so fucking funny that, like, everyone on the left right now is like, they should wait until the fucking election. It's like, you either genuinely think that people should wait till the election, or you think that they should put someone in immediately.
Mhm.
I personally believe that the president should put someone in immediately whenever something like this happens. I think that Obama should have been able to put Merrick Garland in, and I think that Trump should be able to put in whoever the fuck he wants, because that is the job. Now,
because also,
Obama
where's the limit too? Like, do you say it? Like, you can't put a
is
limit.
it, yeah,
on
exactly. Is it a
So-
month before? Is it 3 months before? Is it a year before?
Year before,
Where
too.
is the line of like when you no? The line is when you stop being president.
Yeah.
That's the line, right? That's the line that we've agreed upon. So the I understand that Obama was like stonewalled by Mitch McConnell when he was trying to get Merrick Garland in, and I get why Dems, and even I am annoyed by the fact that that happened. I've been annoyed by that ever since it happened. But the reason I'm annoyed is because of the fact that Obama should have been able to put someone in immediately, and then of course I think that Trump should be able to do the same thing. And just because it wasn't fair for Obama doesn't mean that we should then continue to act like that.
Yeah.
Like scooping, like if people keep like saying that Republicans are like these dirty fucking players and all this type of shit, and like they play the game real fucking gross, like is your solution to just do the same thing and just be gross as well?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, I'm not saying the Republicans are necessarily bad, but like if you're saying that they're bad and then your solution is to do the same thing that they've historically done that really upset you a lot, aren't you basically just saying that you're a bad person too?
Yeah. You're saying if you play dirty, I'll play dirty too, which isn't right.
Yeah.
If you're the better party, you don't need to do that. You don't
Yeah,
need
if
to
you're the
play
better
dirty.
person, you don't do that, right? Like, that's the thing. If you treat me terribly, like, I shouldn't just treat you terribly back just because. I shouldn't just be a fucking asshole, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can have some respect for myself and go, that's not how I communicate. Like, and I don't want that to be the way that I do things. I don't want that to be the way that I'm looked at by other people.
Yeah.
I'm willing to, even though the fact that these other people played the game sort of dirty, I'm willing to have some fucking humility and understand the fact that they have an opportunity right now to put another fucking Supreme Court justice in, and they would be fucking retarded not to take it.
Yeah.
And they've never hidden the fact. Like, there's a video out there of Mitch McConnell saying, he was asked an interview question basically saying, if this happened, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, or if one of the other Supreme Court justices died right before the election, what would happen? And he said, we'd fill it. Like that was it immediately. We'd fill it. Of course we'd fill it. Like.
Yeah, it's
Look,
like
if you're a fucking Democrat, you have no fucking power. You don't have the fucking Senate, so it doesn't even matter. Like even it doesn't. We can sit here and fucking like try and like shame Trump into fucking like waiting till November. But that's never gonna happen. You're not gonna shame that man into fucking waiting till November. So just get over it. Like you've got another Republican Supreme Court justice coming your way. Enjoy.
Yeah. It was said too that the Republicans kind of played it smart because they knew that. I think they pushed so hard for this election too because I guess they knew Scalia was in bad health. They knew Ginsburg was in bad health. Who was the third guy? Kavanaugh got in because of who? Because someone else.
I can't remember.
Anyways, they knew. So three normally you never get to vote in 3 justices, but the Republicans knew going in that there's 2 that were at least ill health, and there was a big chance they'd be getting them in their term. So that's why the Dems are so mad, and because if the Dems would have. The issue is, if the Dems would have won, then we'd have a full Democratic panel of judges.
They'd be defunding the police everywhere right now.
Exactly. Lucky the Republicans got in. That's it. And the other thing is that this goes back to the Democrats' whole sort of ideology, which is we're gonna be nice, and that means everyone else is gonna be nice. Everyone's gonna play by the exact same rules by us, which is not true. Trump may be look. The Republicans were dicks for blocking it when Obama was able to put in Republicans were dicks for blocking Obama for putting in that justice. Yeah. And, they're kind of dicks for what they're doing right now, but they won. And the issue is that, okay, once you see this happen, you don't go, we're going to play dirty. You go, we're going to patch this loophole. We're going to fix this for the future so that no one else can ever do this. And that's it, right? But the Dems...
Well, have you seen what the Dems are recommending? Have you seen what they're saying they're going to do if they win?
Are they going to try and stop the House, or they're going to try and...
No, they're going to try and expand the Supreme Court. So basically what they're saying is if Trump puts a fucking Supreme Court nominee in, right, and then the Dems win, they're just going to invalidate it by expanding the Supreme Court.
Oh, that's dumb.
Like, which is just, like, once again, that all that does is tell me not to vote for you.
Yeah.
Like,
what they should
that just
do
shows me that you
make it
play like
term.
shit.
5 year, make it term-based for the Supreme Court justice,
I think the point of the lifetime nomination is so that they don't do things for political reasons and they just vote based on their conscience, which I think is a good thing. I think that lifetime appointments is a good thing. And I think that if you're... for some reason my camera's gone super out of focus, but if you're unhappy about that, and if you want Democrats to be able to pick more Supreme Court justices, vote for Joe Biden. But at the end of the day, I think that if the Republicans saw this as a real reason why they needed to win in 2016, the Dems should have too. And it seems like they thought that from what I've read about this whole thing, like there have been Democrats that have come out and basically said like, oh, we should have handled the 2016 thing differently and actually worked harder to get Merrick Garland in. But we were so confident that we were going to win the 2016 election that we were so confident we were going to win the 2016 election that we didn't feel like we needed to push the whole Merrick Garland thing. And if we had pushed the Merrick Garland thing, that it could have potentially lost us the election, is what they were saying, basically. So you should have made damn sure you fucking won. And maybe not put a fucking corporatist, neoliberal, soul-sucking fucking vampire who went and fucking tried to run in no states and didn't try and attract any fucking voters and fucking crucified the progressive fucking candidate and ripped him away and like fucking in a sham took him out of the fucking whole democratic process.
Yeah. Like
you disenfranchised all these voters, basically told any Republican or any Trump supporter that they're a fucking terrible human being if they don't fucking agree with your shit. Like, if you wanted to win the 2016 election, why did you go with that strategy? And if you want to fucking win again, why are you using the same strategy? Why?
Exactly.
Like, why have you got Hillary Clinton's fucking retarded brother up on fucking stage at the moment? Like, I don't understand.
That's the best way to describe it.
Fucking candidate, man. Like, you took the same candidate, but fucking gave him dementia beforehand, and we're like, oh, the soul-sucking corporatist neoliberal candidate didn't win last time, so this time we're going to do it and make sure that he doesn't even know how to get through a speech without sounding like he's got fucking ants in his brain.
Yeah.
Like, do you even care about winning a fucking Supreme Court nomination? Like, what the fuck, man?
I don't know.
Good luck expanding the Supreme Court when you fucking lose every state in America fucking this year.
You know what's interesting? I have that quote, but by Hillary Clinton, by the way, about back when Justice Scalia died, and she said the Republicans in Senate and on the campaign trail are calling for Justice Scalia's seat to remain vacant, dishonor our Constitution. The Senate has a constitutional responsibility here that it cannot abdicate for partisan political reasons. And, I get... Anyway, she's basically saying they should have put in a justice when Obama was still in. The other thing is that I was just thinking about this. I wonder how much pull Hillary Clinton had on this election. Like, it would kind of make sense if Joe Biden... You know what I mean? Like, that kind of makes sense that maybe she had a lot of strings pulled for Joe Biden. Because that's the only... I don't know who else. Who else is saying Joe Biden is a good candidate?
And Bernie Sanders was saying that Joe Biden's a good candidate. The fucking idiot.
Oh, my
fucking
God.
Cock. Man, like, Jesus Christ.
There were guys that donated him twice. Both in 2016 and 2020, they donated to him.
Yeah. Dude, seriously, like, look at it this way. Joe Biden's whole fucking campaign was, I'm a nice guy and I can beat Trump. Bernie Sanders, the entire campaign, sits there saying, Joe Biden is my friend and I think that he can beat Trump as well. Like, you fucking corporate tool. Like, you are just a tool for these fucking people. And yeah, I think that Hillary Clinton had some fucking swing, and I think that all of the DNC wanted Joe Biden in because they would much rather have Joe Biden than Andrew Yang or Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard or even, I hate her, but Elizabeth Warren. Like,
oh my God.
Like, and I would have fucking hated to have, like, Elizabeth Warren, but my point is, at least I felt like it would have been fair. If she'd have won, I wouldn't have been that surprised if she'd won the Democratic nomination because she at least seemed to have some support. I don't know a fucking human being in this world that likes Joe Biden. Like, everyone I seem to talk to is like, yeah, he's terrible, but I have to vote for him. Like, 'cause...
It's funny seeing the politics comments whenever that stuff, like, they defend him so hard or on YouTube and stuff. It's like, oh, well, I fumble my words. Like, it's normal to call out that your, wife is in the audience in the middle of a sentence. Right?
Hey, that's my wife, Jilly.
He could shit himself on stage, and they'd be like, well, maybe he drank some beet juice or something. Just give the man a break.
Yeah, I know. It's fucked, man. Like, it's crazy because honestly, like, this whole Ruth Bader Ginsburg thing is a really hard one because you and I have talked about this a bunch of times offline, but I would, if I was American, I could never have justified voting for Joe Biden. I just couldn't do it. I don't like him as a candidate. I don't like any of the policies he's put in place. I think he's genuinely a racist, and I can point to actual fucking proof. I'm like Slam Jello or whatever the fuck that Twitter guy's name was. Like, I can actually point to proof that Joe Biden's a fucking racist. His crime bill incarcerated thousands and thousands and thousands of fucking black people unfairly and prosecuted them more heavily for the crimes that they were committing. Like, and he's bragged about it millions of times. And when he went onto his fucking speeches to talk about it, he like fucking made this huge racist fucking tirade. But regardless of all of that, like, I did not want to vote for him. But the one thing that I have sort of thought about for a while was the whole, like, would I vote for Joe Biden for the Supreme Court justice picks that I'm sure are going to happen in this next presidency? Especially knowing that, RBG was soon to be fucking gone. Gone. See you later.
Bye.
Moose. Bye-bye. See you, sister.
It's a little bit interesting to. Do they normally? I guess they do wait until they're dead to give that sort of, until they die to give that sort of title up. I don't know too much. Okay.
Yeah, they do. So they are Supreme Court justices until they die, and then it gets obviously released. But there's a couple ways to look at this. One is that if Trump picks a Supreme Court justice before the election, well, there's a really good chance that none of the other Supreme Court justices are even going to die over the next 4 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now, if he doesn't get the ability to pick someone before the election, or if he chooses not to pick someone before the election, which I don't think he'll do, but let's say that he did, that would actually make it really hard for me. Because I'm super pro-choice. I'm like pro-choice to full fucking term. Like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. 8.5 months in, feel free to cut that baby out and send it down a river. I don't give a fuck. Right?
Really?
But
Even 8.5 months? I'm curious.
literally up until the point of birth, I'm okay with it, yeah. And I look at it as you're killing a baby and you're killing a life. I understand all of that.
Yeah, the issue I have with it, it's hard for me to say. I don't know where the cutoff is. That's the main thing for me. Like, I don't think I
That's
agree
my
with.
same thing. That's why
It's-
I'm till full term.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say that I'd like the idea of you being able to abort right before it comes out, but at the same time, I don't know. There's also no way to determine a cutoff date, so it's like,
No. To me, you're either pro-choice or pro-life. And if you're
Yeah.
pro-life, I think that means that you're against any abortion, which I can understand. And if you're pro-choice, I think that means that what you are saying is that it's the woman's right to choose because it's in her body. Now, if that's the metric, that's the metric at least that I use, and while the baby is in the woman's body, that's your fucking choice. I don't give a fuck if it's a day before. I don't give a fuck if the baby is 2 weeks late and you decide to do it. It's not my. I don't know where the line is. I don't know your body. I don't know your situation. I don't know your life, and I shouldn't get to tell you.
now here's an interesting.
With that being said, I should also be able to legally abort before the child is born and cut myself off from the fucking kid if I want to.
Right.
How I look at it. I think that we should both have the right to choose. You get to choose what you want to do with your body, and I get to choose what I want to do with my fucking wallet. And if I don't want to have to spend money on this snot-nosed little kid that I don't want, then I shouldn't have to. If it's before the baby's born. I think that we should both get to choose. And then when I make my choice to not be there, you can choose to keep it or not.
Now,
You don't have to keep it.
What about the argument by, because some people that a lot of people that are adopted don't agree with abortion because in their way of thinking it's like, well, then
They
that
would be
means
dead.
more so older people I've met, right? Older people like that I've met that were adopted, abortion was much more frowned upon, and that's kind of why they were adopted. And so then that's why they look down. They don't agree with abortion, right?
Right.
So it's
But that's,
like,
and I can understand that perspective. You know, luckily enough, my parents wanted me, and I wasn't adopted. but
true. Harsh but true.
but like personally, I just think that I don't see any reason why we need a ton more people on this planet, and I don't think that anyone should be forced to raise a child, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, and I think the thing is, like, after you've given birth, if you don't want the child, you can still give it up for adoption, right? That option's still there for you. I still don't think you should be forced to look after a child. But while it's in your body, I don't think we should be forcing anyone to give birth. I just think that if you force someone to give birth, I think that you're sort of forcing someone to go through torture, because I can imagine that it's a fucking terrible experience giving birth, especially to a baby that you don't want, right?
Yeah.
But once again, that's why I'm pro-choice to full term. I should also have the privilege of being able to remove myself from this baby's life, but prior to it being born as well. Because once that kid comes out, I'm fucked. If I get you pregnant and you have the baby, even though I didn't want it, even though I told you to get an abortion 1,000,000 times, I'm now required to pay for this baby's life.
I mean, if we could get a baby made together, like, we'd probably make a lot of money.
I identify as a woman, so now I can have babies, so it doesn't matter.
Nice, okay. Perfect. Did you see that? Did you see that, by the way? Someone had a uterus transplant, I think, and they had a baby.
Like a male?
Yeah.
Like a male had a uterus transplant, and
Yeah.
then
First,
look at that. J.K. Rowling was wrong.
You-
Trans women are women.
second baby born in U.S. from transplanted uterus of dead donor.
To a woman,
maybe,
you go, or a
maybe
male?
no, maybe I got trolled. I almost I'm almost positive I got trolled. Never mind. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it. I got trolled by a post that I guarantee. Never mind.
Fake news.
It was a picture of two men holding a baby, and because I just read it, and it said that it was from this woman herself didn't have a good uterus, so she got one from a dead. She got it basically from someone that just died and had a good uterus.
Hmm.
And the picture was two men holding a baby, and it was first man with a uterus transplant has an anal baby, and I must have just not been thinking that day, and like I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to talk about it. I got trolled.
That's so
I
funny.
just realized.
But like, yeah. So I'm that. My point is simply that I'm very, 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 very pro-choice. For everyone involved, I think that everyone should have the right to choose, and it's probably one of the biggest things that would make me a liberal, or at least would make me a general Democratic voter in the U.S. But there is an argument where is that even like how important is abortion in comparison to, say, the police? You know what I mean? Like, if I have to decide between abortions or the police, fuck, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know at that point. I've never had to feel like I'm in that position before.
Well, if you look at, so the CDC says that in 2016 there was 11.6 abortions per 1,000 women,
Hmm.
right? Or
So
sorry,
basically, that means
186
that
abortions per 1,000 live births is the. That's a weird. So,
186 abortions for every live birth.
so they said the abortion rate for 2016 was 11.6 abortions per 1,000 women, and the abortion ratio was 186 abortions per 1,000 live births. So I guess for every
Does
1,000
that mean
babies.
that the 11 women that are getting the abortions out of every 1,000 are just having a fucking ton of them?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that stat. Like I don't get it.
Is that what that sounds like? That's what it means, right? Like 11 out of 1,000 women get an abortion, and 186 abortions happen for every 1,000 births. So if 1,000 women have one child, and only 11 of those women have abortions, and they're making up 186 of them. Now, I know that that math isn't exactly right. I think that there are women that will have multiple children, and there are women who will have multiple abortions. But that seems like a very interesting.
Yeah, that doesn't make
juxtaposition,
sense.
I guess.
That doesn't make sense to me. 11 abortions per 1,000. So 1,000 women will abort 11.6 babies.
No,
Oh wait, this is
11.6 out of every 1,000 women will have abortions. Is what I think that they're saying. So 1.16% of the female population abort children. Now, but what they're then saying is that for every 1,000 births, 186 abortions happen. That to me sounds like that 1% of aborters are really, really aborting some kids. Now, I'm sure that if you are someone who's had an abortion, you're probably more likely to have multiple than someone who's had none. You know what I mean? Like, you're probably much more likely to have another one if you've already had one, because I would imagine that part of the real horror of having an abortion is going there and getting it done the first time.
And a lot of them are also, it says here, the majority of
Sort of like
abortions,
losing your virginity again.
the majority of abortions were also women in their 20s, too, because this accounts for women 15 to 44 years old. Sorry, what'd you say before that?
I said it's sort of like losing your virginity again.
Is that how it works? I can go. Okay, that's why girls
Well,
say
when you go
that
for
to
the
me.
first time, right? Like, you pop your abortion cherry, and then you just turn into a huge abortion slut, and you're fucking having abortions left, right, and center.
It is,
That's what that stat seems to say to me, and I'm not like. And once again, I'm pro-choice. Have 186 abortions. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. But
anecdotally, I know women that had abortions. They did usually have multiple. So
I agree. That's anecdotally, that is also the experience that I've had, which is that most of the women that I've talked to that have had abortions, it's very specifically abortions. They you always have the S on there.
Yeah, anyways, it's yeah. Oh, well, where I was going to go with this was 11.6 how many babies are aborted per year though? 600. There were 623,000 legal induced abortions. I mean, does that compare to police killings? No. Police killings in 2016.
Oh no, there were like 13 unarmed black people killed last year. Like it's not even fucking close. There are way more fucking abortions than people killed by the police. Way more.
962 people were shot and killed by police in 2016. So, how do we compare this? I'm just trying to
What's
figure
going up? What, did 5 people just get shot by the fucking police when you brought up that
You
site?
saw that? Can I bring that up
Yeah.
again? I know it's like
Look,
No,
they kill.
that's not it.
Bang, dead. Look, and that's not a great number. 3 people getting killed by the cops every day is not fucking good.
yeah, it does go up. It goes up 5 every time I go. It's like people just like I don't know. That's a weird one, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, okay. Back to your question: abortions. Should I care more about abortions or police? I think that's a tough one because yeah, like you said, if people are forced to have kids, you have cause a lot of problems, and also if you defund the police, you cause a lot of problems. So it's like
Well, look, I don't have. Once again, I think that I'm pro-choice, but I'm also not out there fucking screaming Black Lives Matter, right? What I'm wondering is like, how can you be a person who is out pushing like Black Lives Matter, blah 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 blah, but you're totally okay? Like, how many abortions happen every year in America?
yeah, there's 632 in 2016. 632,000
632,000
legal abortions. Yeah.
Right. So now, once again, I am totally okay with all 632,000 of those babies dying. Totally okay with it. Don't give a fuck. More than fine.
That's a lot
But-
when you think about it.
That is.
That's
and
a
I
lot.
couldn't care, and I couldn't give less of a fuck. Okay, like
Holy
it
shit.
doesn't matter to me how many fucking babies die from abortions. I don't care, right? And I do actually probably care more about the citizens of a country getting killed by their police than all the abortions, even if it is only 900 people getting killed by the police. But my point is simply that how can you, like, the reason why I'm pro-choice is because I don't think that life really matters that much.
Mhm.
I think that all people's lives in terms of current citizens, like people who live on this fucking world and aren't inside someone else, I think that they should all be treated equally. But how can you be out there screaming like these 900 people that got killed is such a fucking terrible problem, yet these 630,000 people that got killed is not an issue?
Yeah. Exactly. Funny enough, that's what Kanye's been saying recently.
Has he?
Yeah, he's been
I think
going
that Kanye
hard
and I
on
would get along quite well.
it. He said stuff so now. Well, no, because he says abortion should be illegal. That his point is, abortion should be illegal because look at all the black lives that they're killing, right? That's what he's focused on.
But that's
But
a good
is
point.
It is
That's
a good point.
point.
Yeah.
What about the black babies that are being killed? And I'm
Yeah,
sure that
exactly.
out of that 630,000, I'd say at least half of those are going to be black kids.
Yeah.
Like seriously, and that's not to be racist or anything. That's just if you look at the stats of the types of people that are generally going to have abortions, it's generally people with lower incomes
Mhm.
who don't have a stable household, don't have a stable family situation, and unfortunately, that is more prevalent in the black community.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's completely valid. And then you just go down the route of, well, are we also... There's a lot of black lives being killed in Africa and 133,000... I'm going to repeat this all the time, but 133,000 Somalian children under the age of 5 starved to death. I think it was in 2018 or 2019. 133,000 starved to death.
No
And
one gives a
you're-
fuck
And
because
you're
they're not
worried.
black Americans.
No one gives a
Like,
fuck. That's so funny. You just bring the mic up. No one gives a fuck about any starving Somalians.
Like, no one fucking cares, man. Like, no one cares. No one cares about Somalians. No one gives a
No.
fuck about the Uyghur Muslims. No one gives a fuck about, like,
The
literally...
million Muslims in China that are detained right now in concentration
Dude,
camps. No.
Americans are so fucking egotistical that they do not give a fuck about anyone else's country.
No.
Like, they when they go to other countries, they think that other people are the foreigners.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be in fucking, like, Italy and shit, like, talking to people as if, like, they are foreign to the Americans.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. There's a whole thing same thing. It doesn't make sense. That's what our podcast should be called. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I
Yeah.
like figuring it out with the boys though too. That's good.
The I think the thing is, it's like with the whole like people in Somalia dying, with any of this shit, even or even here's a good one that I don't understand why these BLM idiots are so fucking don't seem to want to talk about this. But all of the black people that get killed by other black people in their own communities. There's been way more black people killed by other black people since the riots. Like over and above what would usually happen than are killed by police each year. The crime rates in all of these cities have gone up through the fucking roof. The people just killed from the protesters and the riots alone is over 30
friction
people
with the
already.
cops too.
Yeah,
Friction with
once
them.
again, it causes more friction with the cops. It takes the cops out of these places and makes it so that the people who are just committing a ton of crime have more power. Drug dealers, pimps, like people that you do not like. If we're for minorities and if we're for women and if we're for all these are like the worst people in the fucking world to all of those people. And the police are helping those people from these fucking monsters. But let's just defund them.
Yeah. Bless. If I was an officer, I would be infuriated, and it would be crazy. I have mad respect for anyone that's not leaving the police force right now. Imagine how hard that is.
I was saying that from like a week in. Once the protest, like when the protest started, like a week in, I was like, fuck this, man. If I'm a police officer, I'm just fucking quitting. Fuck you. Like, fuck you, man. Like, how dare you? Like, and then you see that fucking... We should probably talk about, like, some of the police stuff maybe another day, because there's a lot to go into there. But, like, because we could probably talk about, like, the Jacob Blake thing and, like, those two cops in Tulsa the other day. But, holy fuck. Like, why would you put your life on the line if you're a cop right now? Why would you bother doing it? Like...
It's crazy. It doesn't make sense.
It's a shitty paying job. These people get paid like fucking half of what I do. Like, it's a fucking joke. These people are getting like less than 50 grand a year. It's a fucking piss take, man. And then they fucking have to be fucking like, and they have to just deal with some of the worst fucking people. Not only just like real criminals, but also people just talking to them like they're bags of shit.
Yeah.
People calling them pigs and fucking making oink oink noises at them and all sorts of crap. Like,
while they're taking stress, it is. I bet no one understands how much stress that is to be a cop. Especially now, your stress levels are through the roof. Thinking, because you probably think every time you go out, you probably think, does this person hate me? Does this person want to cause trouble? Do they want to start a video? Like, cops now have to have so much. And you know what? That's fine, but let's pay cops then a lot more money, because I don't want underpaid cops going through that. They're going to make more mistakes. They're going to fuck up.
They're going to be
more.
worse. They're going to be more angry. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pay them way more. Pay them $100 grand a year, and then if they fuck up, even once, get them the fuck out. I don't give a fuck. Like, you treat them as harsh as humanly possible. Pay them well for it so that we get the right people doing this fucking job, because you're not defunding them is not going to make them better.
Yeah.
Like, and you're not going to get anyone doing that job that you want doing that job for free. You know, like, there's no, like, the free police officer is, like, the worst one that you fucking could ever have, because they're just doing it for power, right? Like,
what was it? Well, Chaz worked out. They had, what was his name? Chop or Chaz? You remember that guy came in with machine guns and stuff?
Raz, fucking whatever his name is.
He'll do it for free. He'll keep you protected for free.
Yeah. Exactly. And they were like threatening people and beating people up and shit immediately. People died in Chaz. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, I just don't understand where the, like, once again, if you don't have police, people like Raz will end up running the fucking country.
Yeah.
And I would much rather have the police than Raz.
Yeah. I think we should end it on that. I
think so as well, and I think that we should go into some of the police stuff like maybe on another day, because there's so much to unpack there, and I think that we could very easily look at honestly George Floyd, Jacob Blake, and maybe that Wendy's guy as well, and then look at that video of the two cops going with the going up to that fucking guy they pulled over. And I think if we sort of looked at those 4 videos, we would get a really good representation of like bad policing where you have no other option, and why